disease such as heart disease and diabetes. We spend more fighting preventable diseases than we spend on our national defense. The U.S. has the third largest military in the world, and we are one of the most powerful militaries in the world, but yet we are spending more money on taking care of ourselves, well, not even taking care of ourselves, fixing disease that our lifestyle has caused. The total economic burden of the U.S. health is 1/5 of the economy. So think of that as a 20% tax on everything that you purchase, anything that you buy, any money you put out there. 20% of it, all the dollars that we are spending are going to fixing our poor health. America makes up 5% of the world's population, but we consume 40% of the world's pharmaceuticals. That is an astronomical number. 42% of adults and nearly 1 in 5 children are considered clinically obese. 60% of all Americans are considered overweight or at risk for lifestyle diseases. Poor nutrition is no longer a personal problem. This affects our entire community. This affects our entire city, our state, our country. The ripple effect that poor nutrition and poor health has in our homes and our businesses is out of this world, and we don't give it enough credit for. It may be our personal choice to live a certain lifestyle or eat a certain way, but you are affecting everybody around you, including your children, your grandchildren, generations to come. We are 5 generations in now to the ultra-processed done it. In my early 30s, after I had decided to get clean and sober, I was still struggling with mental health and anxiety. I had yet to find nutrition. But in my early 30s, I ended up with a healthcare scare, and it was supposed to be just a quick fix. I had to have a gallbladder removed, and that gallbladder surgery ended up into 5 surgeries in a matter of 6 weeks. At the end of that surgery, I weighed 87 pounds, and I was absolutely famished. It was hard to even function in life. Even prior to that, I look back, and I didn't realize how deep I was into depression and anxiety, and life was just a struggle all the time. I felt absolutely hopeless and helpless, and it was through that medical issue that I started to find nutrition. The doctors did everything that they possibly could, but I was never even talked to about my lifestyle or how I was treating my body, what I was eating. And when I started to reflect back, I realized I was living off of a diet of Red Bull and Doritos. Like, that was my life. It was like Groundhog's Day over and over. I would get up, I'd go to work, I'd barely make it through the day. I would just think about going home to watch Netflix and eat and go to sleep. Like, that was my life. I wasn't showing up as a good mom, I wasn't showing up as a good wife, and I wasn't showing up as a good friend. So thankfully, I had that healthcare scare, which forced me to kind of start to look at my lifestyle, and it was through small changes I started to make that made the most impact. Something as simple as eating enough protein in the morning absolutely changed my energy levels, and then I just kept building on top of that. Through this process, I realized that the wellness industry is incredibly hard to navigate, and there's a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of fluff, there's a lot of people trying to sell you products that claim that health is on the other side of that, but the reality is it's not. We have so much control and so much power, but we are sold this lie that health is expensive, health is hard, and it's really not. So through this presentation today, I wanted to have some goals and objectives. First, I want to have you understand the connection between food and cognitive function. Nutrition will affect every aspect of your life, and that's not a lie. That every single thing in your life, your nutrition, your health affects. To your relationships, to how you run your business, to how you even think about yourself, your own reflection of yourself. We're going to identify the key nutrients that really will help support that cognitive function and better health. And then we're also going to implement some strategies, some very easy strategies that anybody can implement. The goal is to start where you're at. If you are living on a diet right now with McDonald's and Diet Coke, start there. Don't try to start this crazy lifestyle where you're going to be eating organic kale and drinking a gallon of water a day. You will feel like you are failing. It's about the small steps that it's going to matter. important to talk about our hustle mentality. As a society, we are always on the go. We're being told to achieve more, do more, make more money, and because of this, it is causing a ton of stress. Stress and cortisol play hand in hand. So cortisol is a hormone. To kind of put it in picture, hormones are just your chemical communicators in the body. For every action we have in our body, there's a hormone that is driving that. So cortisol in the short term is not a bad thing. Stress is a natural human response, and it prompts us via cortisol production to address challenges and threats in our life. It is a healthy thing when we are producing it in the proper amounts. So cortisol, the stress hormone, it is a part of the activate and energizing response of the body. It triggers the fight or flight response, and it is produced by our adrenal glands. Again, it is not inherently bad in the short term. It regulates our sleep cycles. Cortisol is what makes us wake up in the morning. Cortisol is what keeps us alert throughout the day. It helps reduce inflammation in the short term, and it stabilizes our blood pressure and our blood sugar levels in the short term. Prolonged cortisol exposure will affect everything in your life. Prolonged cortisol exposure results in anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, fatigue, brain fog, insomnia. It attributes to weight gain, and this is for a lot of people who have tried healthy dieting and they can't lose weight. A lot of the times that has to do with your cortisol levels. It decreases the immune response, and it increases your blood pressure in the prolonged state. It also increases your risk of diabetes and heart disease, and more studies are coming out that it increases your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. So, we're going to talk about 3 nutritional steps to help lower cortisol and increase our cognitive function. So number 1 is macronutrients and calories. This is the most important step. This is the foundation. If you don't get this part, moving on to other things such as supplementation or specific diets will not work. You need to understand the foundation of nutrition. Meal timing and balancing blood sugars. This is the secret sauce that everybody is trying to sell you when it comes to health or weight loss. All they're doing is trying to balance your blood sugar. So we're going to cut all the hype, and we're going to talk about what blood sugar is and why it's important to balance it. And the third step is we're going to supplement to fill the nutritional gaps. Notice supplementation is not on the beginning, and there's a reason why. Everybody usually goes right to supplementation and you buy the expensive products. The reality is if you are not getting the correct calories and macronutrients, you won't even have the ability to break down the supplements and absorb them the way that they are meant to be absorbed. So step 1, the foundation. We're going to talk about calories and macronutrients and understanding what your body needs. So calories are just a measurement of energy. They're actually a measurement of heat. They're used in the scientific world. Everybody has different needs throughout the day. You can have an average need of calories, but if you're more active, one day you're going to need more calories than a day that you're sedentary. So your calorie needs can change depending on the day, depending on your environment. Restricting calories absolutely will result in cortisol spikes. So the restriction of calories will decrease or make your blood sugar a little bit unstable. Unstable blood sugar releases cortisol. Macronutrients. Macronutrients are just nutrients that the body needs in large quantities. Your body cannot create these. They are the alpha, the omega, they are everything. This is the foundation of your health. Without them, you are unable to maintain proper function or create energy inside of your body. So, what are macronutrients? This is something when I started this, I had no idea. I heard the term macros all the time. I had no idea what a macro was. So macros are going to be your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Every macronutrient has a role. Protein is kind of like the big, most people are deficient in protein, especially if you are eating the standard American diet. Focusing on your protein can be so powerful in the long term. So you can see here I have 10-30% of your daily calories. These numbers can change depending on your age, your activity level, your lifestyle, your goals. That 10% is more towards elderly people, people that aren't as active. Protein can also be very taxing on the kidneys and the liver. So you don't want to eat high amounts of protein just because some musclehead magazine told you to. working out, breaking down your muscle tissue. Protein is responsible for many things. Number one, and the most important in my book, is it produces neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are the little chemicals in your brain that make you feel happy, make you feel motivated. So those are going to be things like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. When protein breaks down into what we call amino acids. Those amino acids then bind with other nutrients, and that's how you create hormones, that's how you create things like neurotransmitters. Very most important thing, people who are struggling with anxiety and depression, I would highly, highly recommend that you focus on your protein for 2 weeks and see if you can hit a protein number. You should see a dramatic difference in your cognitive function. This was, for me, the most powerful thing that I did, was wake up in the morning and make sure that I consumed 30 grams of protein within an hour of waking up, and it changed my energy levels and my cognitive function, and it gave me the ability to then kind of get my head above water and see other places that I needed to kind of fix my nutrition or my lifestyle. It's essential for hormone production. It balances fluid, so if you're somebody who gets cankles or little sausage fingers, you could be deficient in protein. So protein is what creates the cell wall structure, helps keep the fluid where it's supposed to be, and helps keep fluid out of places that it's not supposed to be in. It slows down digestion and increases satiety. We're going to go over this in a little bit. This is, again, very powerful. If you can just switch the way that you consume the food on your plate, it will change the way that you metabolize your food. It stabilizes blood sugar. Because it is slow digesting, you don't empty your stomach as quickly as if you're eating a meal that doesn't contain protein. It repairs muscles and cells. When we sleep at night and we go into deep sleep cycles, it is protein that goes in and repairs the muscle tissues that you have broken down throughout the day. Even though maybe you're not working out, we're constantly putting our bodies under stress. We're constantly tearing those muscle tissues, damaging cells. And at night, when we're sleeping and we're kind of in our reset, it's protein that goes in and fixes everything. Okay, the next one is the dreaded carbohydrates. Everybody hates carbohydrates for some reason. This is the newest fad of dieting. Carbohydrates are very, very important. They are your primary energy source. Your body prefers glucose over any other source of energy. Your brain is 100% dependent, 100% dependent upon glucose. If you do not have glucose in your bloodstream, you would die. The body has the ability to kind of switch gears and create a fake glucose molecule. We call these ketones. We'll get into that later. That is something if somebody has high A1C or maybe you're insulin resistant, being on a lower carbohydrate diet could be very beneficial. But for people who are active, low carbs will absolutely wreck your immune system. It prevents the body from using protein as an energy source. So when the body doesn't have carbohydrates, it will actually use muscle tissue to try to create that fake glucose molecule. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not trying to get all swole. Well, the fact is your organs are also muscles. So it can be taxing on the heart when you are not eating enough carbohydrates. There's a difference between good carbs and bad carbs. When we're talking about carbohydrates, I'm going to be talking about fruits, vegetables, whole food items, things that have not gone through any kind of processing. The problem is, in America, 70% of our food system is ultra-processed. So we're over-consuming the sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, and that's giving carbohydrates the bad name. It is not the fruits and vegetables and the whole foods that are causing damage to our bodies. It promotes healthy digestion. I want to kind of get into gut microbiome, but it's a pretty in-depth topic. Carbohydrates are the food source that's going to provide us with fiber. Fiber literally feeds your gut microbiome, your little colonies of bacteria that live in your gut. Those colonies of bacteria, fun fact, actually produce things like serotonin, which is kind of the calming neurotransmitter. So without carbohydrates and the lack of fiber, you are killing off certain strands of bacteria in your gut. We are now just on the tip of science with gut microbiome, and we now see that it plays a huge role in our cognitive function. There are studies that point to things like autism, dementia, all of those things being related to the lack of gut microbiome. So carbohydrates is what's going to feed your little colony of bacteria in your gut. And it's also the main source of most of your vitamins and minerals. 30 to 60% of your daily calories should be coming from carbohydrates. Again, that 30% is going to be more for people who are less active or maybe have high A1Cs, so you're pre-diabetic or you're diabetic. And then the 60% is going to be more for your athletic, your more active people. When I use the word athletic, that doesn't mean that you're going to the gym, 7 days a week and you're running marathons. Active is you're working in construction, you work with your hands, you're up on your feet most of the day. So athletic doesn't typically just mean exercise. The next one is fats. So fats are kind of the new fad as far as dieting goes, and there's good fats and there's bad fats, the same as carbohydrates. You have your omega-6 fatty acids, which actually help contribute to inflammation. Inflammation is necessary in the body as long as we have an imbalance, and your omega-3s, which actually will bring inflammation down. Most of us are very deficient in omega-3s, things like red meat, industrialized meat industries. Most of that meat has a very high omega-6 value. It's because those animals aren't being fed their natural diet, they're living in stressful environments. We eat that tissue and then we consume the omega-6s, which are higher in inflammation. They are an excellent source of energy, so fats can burn for a very long amount of time. We're going to go over the calories for protein and carbs, but 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9, so it's more than double the amount of energy that can be produced by eating fats. It is absolutely necessary for nutrient absorption for the vitamins A, D, E, and K. Without fat, these vitamins cannot absorb into your body. And most minerals require some fat to actually absorb as well. Hormone production. This is what we saw like in the 90s when it was the no-fat, low-fat diet craze. It messed with people's hormones. So insulin is a hormone. And as you can see, like the rise of diabetes, especially from the 90s, has skyrocketed. A lot of people do believe that it has to do with the low-fat diet, where we put women and men on these low-fat diets, and we ramped down their hormone production. And when they had children, we're passing that DNA on to them as well. It is absolutely necessary for brain development and neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is just a fancy way of saying keeps your brain nice and mushy. Your brain is made of fat. We have electrical pulses constantly going through our brain. The more pliable that brain is, the better the communication can be through the brain. And fats, omega-3s especially, help that neuroplasticity. It protects and insulates your vital organs. So being too lean, too low in fat can actually be a bad thing. There is a spectrum. You can be too underweight, where you are at risk for just as many diseases as somebody who is obese. So we call that skinny fat, but it is what it is. Fats need to be between 25 and 40% of your daily calories. Again, these values are going to represent types of diets. So we're sold things like keto, carnivore, Mediterranean. All those is different macronutrient distributions. And they've just slapped a fancy title and made a book about it. So everybody has different needs, and that is why they can vary so vastly. So excellent sources of macronutrients. I'll let you guys kind of look at this. The reality is, the more whole foods that we can eat, the better off we are. We really do not need to be paying for these expensive supplements or meal replacements. We can do this without having that extra expense. So one thing that I recommend to all my clients do use a food tracking app. Using a food tracking app gives you the ability to see what you are consuming as far as your protein, carbs, and fats, and it gives you ability to see what your calorie intake is. My suggestion to everybody is to use a food tracking app for 1 week. Don't try to hit certain numbers, don't try to stay within a calorie range. Just use that food tracking app to see, are you getting enough protein? What is your percentages of fats? How many carbohydrates are you getting? You can even look at things like sodium or certain additives in food to just give you a good snapshot of like where start with where you're at and build on that. So if I were to track my food and I saw that I'm only eating 40 grams of protein a day, I would know that I need to increase that protein. So instead of trying to change the quality of my food or only eat organic or try to avoid seed oils, I would just spend a couple weeks really focusing in on trying to increase my protein. Later down the road, you can change the quality. You can kind of finesse and make those subtle little changes into the quality of your food. But in the beginning, just try to hit certain numbers to change the way that you feel. The impact of it is greater than we'll give it credit for. Step 2 is we're going to learn about balancing blood sugars and meal timing. Okay.
You're good. You're fine.
Okay. All right. So blood sugar is incredibly important. We don't talk about this enough. The reason why we have highs and lows throughout the day, or why our energy absolutely crashes at 2 in the afternoon, is our blood sugar. When we wake up in the morning and we eat the standard American diet of cereal, pastries, waffles, what we're doing is we are spiking our blood sugars. What comes up must come down. So when you have a big spike up, you're going to have a big drop down. And that is what messes with your cognitive function, your memory, your drive, your motivation. It absolutely has an impact on everything. Blood sugar is a mood regulation. It helps stabilize mood swings and reduces the feelings of irritability and anxiety. This is angry. Cognitive function, it supports optimal brain function and enhances concentration, memory, and overall cognitive performance. And weight management, it controls appetite and reduces cravings, aiding in healthy weight management. What I see a lot is people in the evening times overconsume. All day long, they're probably restricting, trying not to eat the carbs. And then in the evening when they come home, they want to eat their arm off, and they're eating everything they possibly can in the pantry. That is because you haven't stabilized your blood sugar all day long. So how do we stabilize our blood sugar? One, we're going to learn about crafting a balanced plate. So first, you're going to aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein every single time you eat. I would say in each meal, but most of us are snackers. Most of us are not eating full meals, and that's part of the problem. But in the beginning, we're just going to aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein each meal. We're going to eat the protein first. So if I'm sitting down to eat lunch and I have, let's say, some breaded chicken and some french fries, and maybe I decided to get fancy and I got a little side of fruit from Chick-fil-A. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to eat that protein before I touch anything else. What that does in the body, the stomach has a sensor for protein. When the stomach senses protein inside, it will close, it's called the pyloric sphincter. It closes that sphincter on the bottom of the stomach, holding the food in the stomach longer, which then will reduce the impact of carbohydrates on your blood sugar. So we're going to start with the protein. We're going to eat the protein first. We're going to make sure we're getting 20 to 30 grams of protein in that sitting. The second thing we're going to do, we're going to make sure we've added a complex carbohydrate to our plate. I am not saying get rid of the mac and cheese, get rid of the processed foods that you enjoy. I'm saying add to, don't take away. Over time, you're going to start to kind of dwindle those bad habits out. So adding something like vegetables just onto your plate. You're going to eat your protein, you're going to switch to your complex carbohydrate and consume that. You can also use things like rice, quinoa, and whole wheat pasta. Here's the trick when it comes to things like rice and pasta. Cook it the day before, let it cool, put it in the fridge, let it cool completely, reheat it the next day. What that does is it creates a resistant starch, so you don't have the same impact of blood sugar or glucose onto your blood sugar. So that resistant starch from when the pasta and the rice cools acts more like fiber inside of the body and not like sugars. So after we add our complex carb, we're going to add a healthy fat. That can be a sliced avocado, it can be a handful of nuts, it can be olive oil dressing that you put on your chicken or even on your rice. Once you meet those 3 criteria, that is a balanced plate. After you consume all those things, go ham on the things that you like. You can add the more processed foods. But again, after time, you're going to realize after you eat these 3 things, you're really not going to have the appetite for the sugary treats and cakes. The second strategy here This stabilizes your blood sugar. You really want to stay away from a lot of carbs first thing in the morning. This is going to create that nice steady energy all day long. The second, you're going to do meal timing. So do not go more than 4 hours between eating the balanced meal. So once we start our first meal of the day, we're going to set a timer. 4 hours later, we're going to have our second meal. You can call these meals whatever you want. And we're going to repeat the strategy of crafting that balanced plate. The most important, I think, the one that people overlook mostly is the avoiding sugar-free drinks or calorie-free options between your meals. Your body does not know the difference between fake sugar and real sugar. Anytime we take a drink or a sip or a nibble of something that is sugar-free, our brain thinks sugar is coming down to the system, and it will trigger the pancreas to release insulin. When insulin is present, you cannot burn body fat. When insulin is present, it actually brings down your cognitive function. This is why when you eat a meal, you just kind of feel tired and lethargic, for an hour afterwards. That is your insulin. So if we are constantly spiking our insulin throughout the day, we are never going to fat burning mode, and we are constantly bringing down our cognitive function. Step 3, supplements. Okay. You cannot out-supplement a poor diet. If you have not implemented the foundational piece of your nutrition, you are wasting your money. And believe me, there are a lot of people out there trying to sell you a lot of things that really aren't going to make a difference. If you don't have enough protein in your diet, you don't have the enzymes necessary to break down these nutrients into their absorbable forms. The other thing is supplements are not regulated. Most supplements that come to market, the ones that you find on grocery store shelves, they go through FDA testing one time. And as long as they don't harm somebody over the course of the years that they're on the shelf, they're really not retested again. Sometimes they might be tested at random. Most of the time you'll see a quality supplement come to market, and then they get bought out by a corporation. That corporation, for cost effectiveness, changes the ingredients. So they can go from a really quality, well-absorbed ingredient to a very poorly absorbed ingredient, and you won't know the difference. So there'll be no indication on the package that these nutrients have been changed. I highly recommend using supplements that you would find like at practitioners' offices, people that are going to be doing your blood work and recommending supplements, because they want to see those levels inside your body change with the supplements. So it's a very, very hard world to navigate. I don't recommend buying anything off the shelves at your Walgreens, your Target, your Walmart. There are a couple exceptions that I will go over. For morning routine supplements, these are supplements that most of us are deficient in. One, and I don't have it up here, getting an activated multivitamin is incredibly important. And when you read the label of vitamins, you should see, they'll have in parentheses what forms of vitamins it is. You want to look for something that's activated. I highly recommend the brand Pure Encapsulation. Because still, don't buy them off Amazon because they're fraudulent as all get up. Pure Encapsulation goes through FDA testing multiple times a year. They have activated forms. You will pay more for these types of supplements, but I would rather pay more and know that I'm getting a quality supplement versus saving a few dollars at Walgreens, but not getting the outcome. B vitamins. 99% of us are deficient in B vitamins for multiple reasons. One, B vitamins come from bacteria. We over-sanitize everything. Everything is overwashed. We're not getting fruits and vegetables out of the yard and eating them directly. It's kind of gross, but nonetheless, B vitamins are coming from bacteria. Even our livestock are just not being fed their natural diet. They're not eating grass out of the dirt. They're eating hay that is, put out to them. So they're also deficient when we eat their tissues. We are not getting the B vitamins. Creatine. Creatine is the most studied supplement that there is. It is amazing for cognitive function. Ladies, it's amazing for perimenopause, and it is great for muscle gain. I have a really hard time recommending this even to my clients because you are not drinking enough water. Don't touch this stuff. It will dehydrate you. So first and foremost, make sure that you are hitting a water goal every day, and then you can add in creatine. You want a monohydrate form. Do not load this. If you read in muscle magazines, they'll tell you to load this, meaning that you take 3 times the dose for a week, and then you reduce that dose a little bit, and then ultimately you would end up at 5 grams. Just start with 5 grams. Do not load creatine. The last one for morning supplements is D3 and K2, especially in your fall and winter months. Vitamin D is actually a hormone. It helps cognitive function. It helps you feel better. We can get it from the sun, but most of us are under fluorescent lights all day. Fluorescent lights actually deplete our vitamin D. You want to take a D3 with a K2. So K2 is just a vitamin that helps the D3 convert into a usable form. Again, and I have the brand Pure Encapsulation. Oh, I have Mary Ruth's up here. There was a moment in time that Mary Ruth's was a really good vitamin that you could buy over the counter. My understanding is they recently sold out to a corporation, so whether that quality is still there or not, I can't attest to it. For evening supplements, omega-3s. We kind of talked about this. We are very deficient in omega-3s. We're over-consuming omega-6s. We're eating a lot of red meat, a lot of processed meat. So we're getting an overproduction of omega-6. These are kind of tricky to buy as well. Anytime an omega-3 gets above 90 degrees, so if it's not stored correctly, it goes rancid, and it actually converts more into a molecule that looks like omega-6s. So you want to be very cautious of this. I have my clients buy this in the winter months and then refrigerate it. That way it never goes above that 90-degree mark. Don't have it shipped to you in the summer. Don't leave it in your car because you're going to ruin your entire batch. Magnesium. Everybody's deficient in magnesium. Magnesium no longer is in our soil, and this is from industrialized farming. Magnesium, the best form to use is glycinate. There's about 8 different types of magnesium. Most of them that you'll see in these over-the-counter supplements are going to be magnesium citrate. Magnesium citrate is just going to be, it's not going to do anything else. Magnesium glycinate absorbs better. It helps with absolutely everything. Hormone production, enzyme production, it helps with sleep, it helps your muscles repair. If you don't take anything, if there's one thing that you take away, take magnesium glycinate every night. It'll help you sleep deeper as well, so you go into those deep sleep cycles. Probiotics. We are so deficient in fiber in our diet. Probiotics helps reintroduce the good bacteria into our gut. It is a waste of your money and your time to take probiotics if you are not consuming fiber. All you're doing is reintroducing bacteria into your GI tract, but if you're not giving it food, it's just going to die off. You can also have an overgrowth of bad bacteria if you are just taking probiotics and not making sure you're eating enough fiber. Here's some random other supplements that I do recommend often. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is great to help bring down cortisol functions or cortisol production. You want to take ashwagandha in the evening. It'll help you relax. It's great for stress. It's great for anxiety. The thing with ashwagandha is you want to cycle on and off of it. Usually no more than 6 months at a time on it, and then cycle off for a couple months because, again, it can be very taxing on the liver as well. The quality of it can change. You want the form KSM 66. That's the most absorbed form of it. Digestive enzymes. Most of us are deficient in magnesium. Most of us have very low digestive enzymes. So even when we start eating a healthy diet, it's very hard for our body to break that down and absorb it. So digestive enzymes can kind of just fill that gap in the beginning of your health journey. And the last one is B12. Most of us, again, are very deficient in B vitamins. There is a genetic mutation that a lot of people do have that prevents the body from even absorbing B12. So if you can get B12 in the methylated form, liquid is even better. Put it under your tongue so it absorbs through the mucous membranes of your mouth and not through your inflamed GI tract. That is going to be your best bet. You can take B12 multiple times throughout the day. This is what's in energy drinks. This is anything that claims to help with energy is high amounts of B12. But the methylated form of it is going to be the best, most absorbable form of it. Conclusion. Oh man, right there.
You have like 5 minutes.
I know. Okay. So remember, small and consistent steps are going to have the most impact on your health. Do not go into this world of, going straight from eating what you're currently eating and you're going to throw away everything and change everything about your life. Start with where you're at. If you want to start with just eating enough protein through McDonald's, go for it. That momentum is going to start to build up. Health is not expensive. It is not difficult. There is an industry out there that is trying to tell us that so it can sell you products. It's absolute bogus. Small steps will have the most impact on your health. Lastly, Q&A. Ask me anything. You have 5 minutes to ask me anything. I also have a QR code up here for a free consultation. If anybody wants to come meet us in office, we will do a body composition test on you and just give you 30 minutes to talk about maybe your current struggles or any questions that you may have in a more private environment. Any questions? What? I'll be nice to you in the blue shirt. That's my husband. So.
And make everybody fearful of raising their hand.
I know.
Protein. So if we wake up in the morning, a lot of people are kind of rushing out the door. Is it better to eat your protein or drink a protein shake?
Natural food's always going to be better in the beginning. In the beginning, when you're trying to implement this, protein shakes are just fine. There's a lot of studies that will tell us that you don't absorb all the protein through things like supplementation. However, when you're starting from nothing, protein supplements are absolutely fine. I've been doing this for 8 years at this point, and I still use protein shakes because I like to run around like a chicken with my head cut off and add things to my plates that don't need to be added. So using protein shakes, there's nothing wrong with that. I would highly recommend that we don't constantly rely on them. They're more of a if you must product. Yes, nice man in the shirt.
You mentioned a food tracking app. Is there one that you recommend?
Yes, it's called My Net Diary. If you have an Apple, in the Apple store, just search My Net Diary. It'll come up as calorie counter and it has a green apple with a measuring tape wrapped around it. There's a really cool feature of that where it has AI. You can literally take a picture of your food and it will tell you what is in that food. So your protein, your carbs, your fats. Technology is amazing. You do have a premium version that work, but it's a game changer.
I agree.
Yes.
So, according to your thing with the protein, so should I change not having a fruit smoothie in the morning and go to protein?
So you can have a fruit smoothie, but you would want to add protein to that.
Okay.
I would recommend just slamming a protein shake and then go to your fruit smoothie. But what you're doing is you're introducing high amounts of carbs first thing in the morning, especially through a smoothie. Kind of think of it, it's pre-digested. The blender is cutting up all the fiber. It's kind of, emulsifying all the sugars. And then we're consuming that, and that's spike. There's nothing in the system. There's no buffer. You're going to spike your blood sugar. So if you can just start it like first thing in the morning, have a protein shake, and then make your fruit smoothie.
Could add it to the fruit smoothie too.
Yeah, throw some vanilla
Yeah.
protein powder in your smoothie.
Absolutely. So, easy fix. See? You make it more complicated than it is. Any other questions? Okay. And scene. Did it.
It's great that way as well. But I've known Amanda for 5 years.
Yeah.
I've gone through 2 babies. I've gone through a lot of different changes in my life, and it's always like it's a change. It's a constant change in like your nutrition and everything, and she's always working through it. And as long as you log it and are honest with yourself, she's like, oh, you had a piece of cake. Well, actually I had 4, but yes, I did. She's like, okay, well, tell me about that. What was going on? And it's like, maybe have a protein shake before you have a cake list.
Protein first.
But anyways. All right, real quick announcement before we go on to our break. Magic Valley Mobile Swag is outside in the art pressing shirts for a purchase for if you guys want to have those cool saying on the back of them, like this one here.
Yeah.
You can go out back and they have all those sayings for you out there. You can purchase a shirt if you would like. And then you're free to go to network and see the vendors and have a great time and then be back in that main auditorium at 10:10. Thank you guys so much.